Welcome back. Happy week 2. Week 2 objectives: multiply signed numbers, divide signed numbers, evaluate exponential expressions, use the order of operation rules, find the mean, identify terms and coefficients. First, multiplying two numbers that have a different sign. Step 1, multiply their absolute values. We talked about those last week. Step 2, make the final answer negative. So we have a negative 5 times 7. We do their absolute values, so 5 times 7, we have a 35. And because, unlike signs, a negative and a positive, the final answer, negative 35. We'll do one more. We have 15 times a negative 25. Again, step 1, multiply their absolute values, so equals 15 times 25. Our answer, 375. Again, unlike signs, negative and a positive, the answer, negative 35. Remember, the product of two numbers with unlike signs is always negative. This would be a good thing to jot down. Some of these rules, although they seem very basic right now, they follow us throughout the course, and it's good to just have a few notes. So, the product of two numbers with unlike signs is always negative. Multiplying two numbers that have the same signs. Step 1, multiply their absolute values. Step 2, make the final answer positive. So the answer with two like signs, either two negatives or two positives, the final answer always positive. Negative 6 times a negative 6, absolute values, 5 times 6, answer 30. Two like signs, the answer will remain positive. We'll try another one. Negative 10 times a negative 7, absolute values equals 10 times 7, final answer 70. Again, two like signs, two positive numbers, two negative numbers, negative 10, negative 7, positive answer. Again, remember, the product of two numbers with like signs is always positive. The commutative property of multiplication. Changing the order when multiplying does not affect the answer. For any real numbers, a and b, a times b is equal to b times a. So 8 times 5 is the same as 5 times 8. Both will equal 40. Commutative property of multiplication. Changing the order does not affect the answer. Again, a little note would be great. The associative property of multiplication. Changing the grouping when multiplying does not affect the answer. For any real number, a, b, and c, ab times c is the same as a times b times c. So again, we can group them any way, and this can be really helpful, especially as we move in to more and more algebra. Negative 5 times negative 37 times 2. Negative 5 times negative 37. I can do that, but it takes a little brain power. So I'm going to choose grouping, regroup. So I'm going to rewrite this. Negative 5 times 2 times negative 37. Much easier to calculate. So again, grouping is not going to matter. So I can go negative 5 times 2. That's going to be a negative 10 times the negative 37. Two negatives, we know it's going to always be a positive answer. 10 times 37, 370. So again, as we get moving along in our course, don't forget about the associative property of multiplication. Real helpful. Dividing two numbers that have the same signs. Divide their absolute values, and we're going to make the quotient positive. Same signs, positive answer. Negative 48 divided by a negative 12. Answer, 4. Two negatives, same sign, 4. Positive 48 divided by 12, positive 12. Again, same result, 4. The quotient of two numbers with like signs is always positive. Dividing two numbers that have different signs. Divide their absolute values, make the quotient negative. Unlike signs, final answer, negative. I have a negative 45 divided by 9. Final answer, negative 5. Unlike signs. 28 divided by a negative 7. Final answer, negative 4. The quotient of two numbers with unlike signs is always negative. Evaluate exponential expressions. 5 to the 4th power. The 4 is the exponent, and exponent indicates repeated multiplication. The 5 is the base, and that's used as a factor. So, repeated multiplication. 5 times 5 is 25, times another 5 is 125. The fourth 5 times 5 equals 625. So again, repeated multiplication, we have the factor 5. We're multiplying it 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25, times 5, 125, times 5, 625. Even and odd powers of a negative number. When a negative number is raised to an even power, negative 5 to the power of 2, the result is positive, positive 25. So a negative number raised to an even positive, 2, 4, 6, 8, the result will always be positive. When a negative number is raised to an odd power, negative 5 to the power of 3, the result is negative, so a negative 125. Order of operations. First step, perform all calculations within parentheses. So in this problem, I see in parentheses 25 minus 5. I do that first. I rewrite the problem. 5 to the 3rd power plus 35 minus 20. Next step, evaluate exponents. I see 5 to the 3rd power, so my next step is to do that. 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. I rewrite the rest, plus 35 minus 20. Next step in the order of operations, perform multiplication and or division from left to right. This problem does not have that, so we go to our next step, perform addition, subtraction from left to right. So I see 125 plus 35, 90 minus 20, and the last 90 minus 20 is 70. Algebraic expressions. Variables and or numbers combined with the operations of arithmetic. A to the 2nd power minus 3a minus 9. That's an algebraic expression. We separate these algebraic expressions in parts called terms. Terms are separated by the plus sign. So the first term in my a to the 2nd power is a to the 2nd power, plus, so I'm going to put the plus sign even though I have a subtraction sign, and I can do that because subtraction can be written as addition of the opposite. Again, we talked about that in the first one. The expression a minus 3a minus 9 has 3 terms. Second term, negative 3a, plus third term, negative 9. Algebraic expressions. Coefficient of a term. The numerical factor of a term. So, here's a term, negative 15ab to the 2nd power. Its coefficient, negative 15. Negative 0.9 PQX. Coefficient, negative 0.9. X, what's the coefficient? A 1. Why is that? Because X means 1x. I have a negative t. The coefficient is going to be a negative 1. And again, for the same reason as the x, negative t is the same as negative 1t. Tips for a successful week. Do not procrastinate. Log in each day. Complete all reading assignments. Watch the videos. They're excellent. Submit this week's assignments by Sunday. Contact me. You have my email. You have my phone number. Can't wait to hear from you. Let me help you cross that finish line. Have a great week. Look forward to hearing from everybody. Happy calculating.